So, for example, one went from Peking to Singapore, met someone from my country in Singapore. The person from my country flew back to France, infected a few people in the chalet, then flew back to south of England somewhere and affected a few more people in a pub. So yes, that definitely happened. What actually happens is you start off getting individual cases, then you start off with clusters, and then you develop onto community spread. So quite a lot of those early cases were able to contain at the individual cases stage before they developed into clusters. But as you rightly say, the Chinese developed a lot of testing as well. And the other thing the Chinese did was they used a lot of technology. So in China, people often live in compounds or a particular block of flats, and very often there's a shop and maybe a hairdresser's and things associated with that. It's almost like mini communities within the city. So what they did in China was they basically fenced off these mini communities of maybe several hundred people. And everyone was given a card, and they had to scan in, they had to scan out. They were only allowed out to go to the supermarket for shopping. They scanned out, they would have their temperature checked on the way out. They'd go to the supermarket, they'd have the temperature checked on the way into the supermarket, they'd scan back in. And this was all controlled. And later on, it all went on to mobile phones as well. So people were, whether people were allowed to travel or not depended on the rating they had on their mobile phone. So their behavior would give them a traffic lights that I've red for absolutely not, an amber for maybe in a few days' time, and a green for yes, it's okay. So everyone had like a health traffic light system on their mobile phone. A lot of technology was used. And as you rightly say, Brian, the very similar approach in Korea. Now, the shutdowns in Korea were nothing like as draconian as the ones were in China. The Koreans went for much more a lot of testing. So the Koreans mobilized a lot of test kits. They did a lot of testing. When someone tested positive, they were isolated, and the contacts of the person who tested positive were quarantined. So they were very precise and surgical. You know, this picking away from the bottom, the picking out the individual cases. So the Koreans were very good at that. And they also used a lot of mobile phone tracking as well. And mobile phones to scan in and out, and mobile phones for all sorts of things I don't pretend to understand. But it was very technologically controlled. So one person might have a fair degree of freedom because their electronic devices said they were very low risk. Whereas other people, if their electronic device said they were high risk, then they'd be quarantined for 14 days. So the Chinese approach was a bit sledgehammerish from on top, although they did start doing the testing as well. Whereas the Korean one was much more precise, testing and isolating every case. And as you rightly say, they used the strategy of both of those in Hong Kong and also in Singapore.